There's an outstanding event in the PD area at Francis Marion University. We'll tell you all about it coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. Today we're at Carolina's hospital system here in the city of Florence. We're focused on the PD area Heart Walk coming up on October 26th at Francis Marion University. And we're visiting with Andy Evans. Andy, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Nice to be here, Greg.
Andy, you're with TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
That's correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about TRICARE?
TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield has been in the Florence area for about 17 years now. Actually started with the company back in October 1985. And we process health insurance claims from military personnel and their dependents. And we've been very fortunate to have been successful in the PD area and have grown from a staff of about 300 to 2,200 at present day.
2,200?
That's right, Greg. 2,200.
Son of a gun. And are you a PD native?
Sure am. I was born in Charlotte, but quickly moved to Florence, and I've lived here my entire life.
And you said TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield, has been in the area for 17 years?
Since October of 1985.
And you've been with the company since its inception?
The entire time.
That's spectacular. Had TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield been in existence anywhere else beforehand?
They were in Columbia, South Carolina, and there was a decision made to relocate offices to Florence, South Carolina.
Okay. How long has TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield been active with the American Heart Association?
For a number of years, Greg. I don't know the exact number, but we sponsor a number of charitable causes here in the PD.
What's your responsibility with the company?
I'm actually a director of claims processing in what we refer to as Region 2-5. I work closely with 7 managers and approximately 190 associates. And as I've said, we process military health insurance claims.
Okay, right. I understand that TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield has had the top money-raising team for a couple of years. Surely last year, I think you all raised in excess of $36,000.
That's correct. We take a lot of pride in these charitable causes here in the PD. Last year we raised a total of $36,000, as you mentioned, and the year before we raised over $40,000. This year again we set a very aggressive goal of $40,000. We started our campaign back on August the 16th, and to date we've raised approximately $15,000.
You're kidding. Since August 16th, you've raised approximately $15,000?
$15,000.
Okay, towards the $40,000 goal. I'm sure you're feeling pretty good about it.
We are. That's non-inclusive of the Walker packets, where the associates seek sponsors to sponsor them in the walk on October 26th. And we expect a large portion of those funds to come from the Walker's packets.
I'm sure. How many walkers are you all expecting from TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield?
We're shooting for a goal of approximately 200 to 300 people.
Right.
Walker participation is one thing we've been striving to improve over the past couple of years, and we hope to do that this year.
You know, oftentimes Mona Carter, who's the director of corporate relations for the area, and Mary Torgerson, when they talk about goals, there's one goal is about $100 per walker. If a walker can do that, when you're talking about 200 to 300 walkers, if you're able to pull that 300 off and they're able to reach that 100 goal, I mean, you're a heck of a long way towards the 40,000. So.
That's correct. We have a unique situation where we won't run a totally separate campaign within our operations. So we not only raised money from the Walker participants, but among all the associates that work with us here in Florence at Blue Cross Blue Shield TRICARE.
Great. What are some of the wraparound events that are going on currently?
We have many fundraising events. We have hot dog luncheons, one of which we'll have tomorrow. We have a food cart that goes around and sells healthy items in the morning times, bananas, oranges, apples, etc. The company's also been very generous in assisting with purchasing gifts, which serve as incentives for people to contribute to the cause.
Right.
And we sell raffle tickets, things of that nature.
And those tickets would be for, I mean, what are some opportunities? 13-inch
color TV, Palm Pilot PDAs,
Great.
cordless telephones, just various gifts.
Why do you think it's important for associates within TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield, to be involved with the Heart Association, with the Heart Walk?
Well, we're a member of the community.
Yes.
And being a member of the community, you have some responsibility. And with responsibility, there are worthwhile causes such as the American Heart Association, which help fight cardiovascular disease, as I mentioned, in stroke, and in the PD area. That's the #1 killer in our area.
Mm-hmm.
So the associates, as we like to refer to them, support the cause in order to improve lifestyles of people in the PD area.
Andy, would you, there's so many large corporations and companies within the PD. If you're talking about 2,200 associates. When we hear about associates last week, Brian Newman from Honda was on talking about the PD International Festival, a totally separate event out at Francis Marion. Large companies like Honda and Roche Carolina and McLeod and Carolina's hospital system, these big companies have got substantial goals to really get out, to get walkers out, to get monies raised for the American Heart Association. The big benefit, I guess, is keeping the money here. So much of that money is raised to be kept here, and I'm sure that's one of the big goals for Andy Evans and for TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield. If you were not active currently with TRICARE, what do you think you'd be doing, Andy?
As far as supporting charitable causes, I would still be very much active supporting the American Heart Association and a number of other worthwhile charitable causes in the PD area. I've been a firm believer that there are always people that are less or are not as fortunate as we are. Mm-hmm. And those people in the community need help from those of us who are fortunate.
What was your first childhood job?
My first childhood job was working in tobacco farms.
Is that right?
My father lived down in a small town south of here, Pamplico, South Carolina, and as I mentioned, he had 7 brothers, 2 sisters. And I worked every summer on the tobacco farm to earn money to buy school clothes for the following school year.
Golly. Andy Evans, someone who's been affected personally by heart disease and stroke, family members that have been dramatically affected, starting out here in the Florence area virtually his entire life, and now committed after 17 years with TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield, to give back to his community by supporting the American Heart Association's Heart Walk, coming up October 26th. Andy, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're at Carolina's hospital system here in the city of Florence. We're focused on the PD area Heart Walk coming up on October 26th at Francis Marion University. And we're visiting with Dwight Wicker. Dwight, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Good to be here, Greg.
Dwight, you're with TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield here in the PD area?
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit about, I know earlier we talked to Andy Evans, who's also with TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Can you tell me a little bit about the company?
Well, we've been here a number of years and have grown considerably from 300 employees to 2,200 employees. We process claims for military people who have health insurance claims that when they visit providers outside of the military hospitals, those claims have to be processed. They come to us and we process them for them.
And you're the Vice President of Operations.
That's correct.
What exactly does that entail?
That entails getting the claims in, opening the mail, sort of things, but mostly getting the claims to our associates who help make decisions about how those claims need to be processed and what payments need to be made.
Great. Are you a PD area native, Dwight?
No, I'm not. I'm a native of Kansas.
Oh, really?
I moved here about 8 years ago to work in TRICARE.
Okay. Had you been formally associated in health management or in?
Yes, I was with a Blue Cross plan there in Kansas.
Okay. How many Blue Cross Blue Shield plans are there around the country? Are you familiar, obviously, with both Kansas and South Carolina operations? Are there, if viewers weren't familiar with Blue Cross Blue Shield, what would be an area around the country if they'd been living in an area, or what are some other areas that Blue Cross Blue Shield covers?
We're in every state in some of the other countries outside the United States. Primarily, we're located about 50, really associated with every state, and sometimes there's multiple plans in a state, but generally you can say it's per state.
Dwight, can we talk for a second about TRICARE Blue Cross Blue Shield sponsorship of the Heart Walk? I understand that y'all are a corporate sponsor of the event.
That's correct. We have kind of moved up and become a little more aggressive in helping sponsor the heart funds in this part of the country, because it is a leading killer in the PD area, and we feel it's real important for our associates to have a better lifestyle, and we think this may be a way to do that.
Very definitely. Are there other charities, even though this week's focused on the PD area Heart Walk, are there other charities that are not-for-profits that TRICARE Blue Cross Blue Shield supports locally here in the PD?
Yes, there are. We like to work with the children's group, the March of Dimes, in the spring. We work with United Way. We're a major sponsor there. I think most years we're one of the largest contributors. I serve on the board of United Way. The Heart Fund, and many of our associates are associated with many other kinds of fundraisers. It's a very, very generous group of people. And then around Christmas time, we usually do a food drive to help contribute to some of the helping fill the empty cupboards.
Yes, very definitely. And there are a lot of empty cupboards. Surely the Heart Association, as you talk about the United Way, you may know one of the differences with the American Heart Association is they're not a United Way recipient.
That's correct.
And they're not getting grants and federal funds. They're really getting private support from within their community. Like the United Way, they keep those funds in the community and reinvest it back in here in research into heart disease and strokes. If the TRICARE Blue Cross Blue Shield sponsorship level was recognized, is that added on to the goals that Andy had said? You all had set a $40,000 goal this year and hopefully 200 to 300 walkers. Was the sponsorship level added into that goal?
That's correct.
It is. Well, that is I think Tom Ewart was talking about, the chairman of the walk was talking about a $275,000 full goal for the entire walk, of about $60,000 coming from corporate sponsorships, and they were trying to get some more corporate sponsors out there. Are you aware of some of the other corporate sponsors here in town?
A few, not many of them, but I'm aware of a few.
There are a heck of a lot of folks associated. Normally the teams are the primary vehicle, as Andy talked about earlier, the goal to try to get out. How many teams are there within TRICARE Blue Cross Blue Shield?
We've kind of divided ourselves by buildings, with teams within those buildings. We're in, I think, 5-building complex, and we kind of challenge ourselves by different teams and different goals in those buildings. Are there some wraparound activities that you're aware of that are occurring on a regular basis? Yes, I think one of a good fundraiser from companies to maybe emulate is we use Jeans Day. And that's very popular among our associates. We allow them for $1 a day, they can choose to wear jeans that day. That's a great idea. And that's within the company. That's correct. Not just on certain teams or getting that benefit. That is a company-wide activity. Well, that's a great idea. That could sure add in. How about, I understood from somebody that you all do candy sales even on a daily basis. What does that entail? That's correct. We have a candy cart, and we push that around the floor, and people are allowed to at break time buy some candy. Sometimes even some healthy things are on that candy cart. Right, I'm sure. You know, so many folks talk about bake sales or spaghetti lunches. Surely a Blue Jeans Day or the candy sales is a great way to get folks out. Your involvement, obviously you talked about other charities you're involved with locally. Will you be out there walking, Dwight? I plan to be, yes. Great, good. And family will be out there, hopefully? Yes, I usually get my wife to go along. We both like to walk anyway, so we combine exercise with fundraising. It's great to be able to get out there and do that. What impact do you think the event like this has on the community? It's great publicity, I think, for bringing emphasis to heart disease and the importance of it in our area, and why we need to most of this money stays locally for us to use, and having such a high incidence of cardiovascular disease, I think, is an important factor for us to focus on that here.
Dwight really drives home the point of a very high incidence of cardiovascular heart disease and strokes here in the PD area as well as throughout the nation. 8 years here in the area, many years with TRICARE, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Look forward to seeing Dwight and his wife out on October 26th at the PD Area Heart Walk. Dwight, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
You bet, Craig. Thanks.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Carolina's hospital system here in the city of Florence. We're focused on the PD Area Heart Walk coming up on October 26th out at Francis Marion University. And we're visiting with Daphne Heffler, who's the Associate Vice President of Cardiovascular Services at McLeod Regional Medical Center. Daphne, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
You have been, obviously, many years. Is it 27 years you've been at McLeod Regional Medical Center?
That is right. I've been with the cardiovascular division most of that time, 25 years.
How large is the cardiovascular division? How many doctors are there, staffers? Is that an entire building to itself for viewers who may not be familiar with McLeod?
It is not an entire building. However, it encompasses several departments in the main tower. We have a cath lab. We have a cardiac telemetry unit. That's a step-down unit. That's a 43-bed unit. We have a coronary care intensive care unit that has 20 beds. And then we have the support services, echo and EKG, as well as a cardiac rehab program that meets out at the fitness center.
Okay. How many doctors are associated with the cardiac program at McLeod?
There are many. The cardiovascular surgeons as well as the cardiologists all participate in our program, and there are about 15 cardiologists who are on staff there.
A very large program.
It is a large program.
Are you a PD area native, Daphne?
Originally, I'm from Horry County, actually. I'm from Loris.
Oh, great.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it's such a large geography in our viewing area, as you know, the Grand Strand, as well as the PD, as well as southeastern North Carolina, Robinson, Scotland County, a good bit of Columbus County. So hopefully the goal, a couple weeks ago, we focused on the Waccamaw Division, Horry and Georgetown County of the Heart Walk. This week, obviously, we're focused on the PD Area Heart Walk, which the PD Area Division of the Heart Association serves Florence and Darlington County, of course, reaches into Marion, and this year Dillon County has been joined into the Heart Walk to really serve much of the area that McLeod serves, as well as a much larger area even.
That's right. Dillon is very much a part of our walk this year. St. Eugene is one of our participants.
Yes. How long have you been active with the American Heart Association?
For years, I have worked with the Heart Association, usually as a volunteer, as a fundraiser. This is my second year as a community leader, but I have participated throughout my 25 years in one way or another with the Heart Association, either with the state or with the local chapter.
Can you tell me real quick, Daphne, exactly what entails in the responsibilities as Associate Director of Cardiovascular Services for McLeod? What exactly does that entail?
Well, I work with all of the departments that we just talked about with providing leadership and helping to maintain the standards to make sure that we provide the highest level of care for the patients that are referred to us. And many of our patients are referred from the surrounding areas. And we bring patients in who need evaluation in the cath lab to diagnose their cardiovascular disease. And then we treat that either with medicine or with interventions in the cath lab or with bypass surgery. So my responsibilities are with the management of that whole division.
Mm-hmm. Being an Associate Vice President, McLeod probably helped quite a bit becoming a community leader for the Heart Walk. Are there some responsibilities inherent therein to get out and encourage, I guess, as a community leader? What are the responsibilities exactly?
And it is a natural thing for me to participate in that. It is an expected role for me not only within the hospital but within the community, because having been there for that long, people do associate me with cardiac since I've worked with it all of that time. The Heart Association has done a very good job of organizing a team effort, and the community leader, of which I am for McLeod Health, and McLeod Health is made up of not only McLeod Regional Medical Center, but also Wilson Medical Center in Darlington and St. Eugene Medical Center in Dillon.
Okay.
So as a community leader, my responsibility is to recruit 5 recruitment leaders, and then they in turn recruit 5 team leaders.
They each go out and recruit 5 team leaders.
That's correct. And then each team leader is responsible for recruiting 10 walkers. So it's a real team approach that the Heart Association has designed and have found that it works very well. We become a team that support each other on each of those levels, and then we all are working toward the same goal, which is the fundraiser for the American Heart Association.
And all of those teams will fall under the McLeod Health banner.
That is correct.
Wow. Do you know if there are personal or goals for the walkers themselves? Is there an actual number of walkers that are hoped to be out representing McLeod Health?
Yes, if everybody gets their designated number of walkers, then that is how we would help us to arrive at an overall goal for our team. The individual walker has a goal of $100. And they can raise that in any way they see fit. They may get contributions from their family, friends, neighbors. People might pledge to support them if they walk. Some of them elect to have fundraisers. They sell raffle tickets for a variety of things. They have bake sales, so they do some things like that. It's up to the individual walker as to how they want to raise their $100. And then those $100 collectively help us to reach our goal, which this year we have set a higher goal than we had last year. Our goal this year is $30,000.
McLeod Health has a $30,000 goal.
That is correct.
That's spectacular.
So we are working toward that, and we appreciate the work that St. Eugene is doing and that Wilson is doing to help us with attaining that goal.
Very definitely. So many folks, as we heard Andy Evans and Dwight Wicker talk about the 40,000 goal for TRICARE Blue Cross Blue Shield with 2,200 associates within the area. There are corporations and companies as committed to the community as McLeod. Carolina's hospital system's got a large goal, and surely the commitment is recognized by all community leaders like yourself that have gotten out to really make this a successful walk. Lastly, Daphne, when we think real quick about the Heart Association, is there any particular focus that you would want viewers to get out and do if they had an opportunity to be at the Heart Walk?
I would like the people to support the walkers when their family member or friend comes to them and says, I'm going to be a walker. We would appreciate their supporting that walker. We see the benefit of what the Heart Association does with research. They support so many things that we in this area need. They support us with education materials. They support us with their research does, with the equipment that we work with. And that is just such a needed thing in our area because of the high incidence of heart disease that we have in this area.
Daphne Heffler, Associate Vice President of Cardiovascular Services for McLeod Health Regional Medical Center, 27 years with McLeod, Horry County native, and very supportive of the Heart Association. Look forward to seeing you out there on October 26th at Francis Marion University.
We will be there.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Thank you for joining us on Carolina People. If you need more information about the Heart Walk, please call 843-665-0985.